Vivek, and I welcome you to the second episode of Edusolutions Season 3. This series is organized by Edusolutions and Punekar News. We are here today to discuss on how to curb the increasing dropout rate during pandemic. Each year, more than 1 million kids will leave school without completing their higher education. That's more than 7,000 students every day of the academic year. And this number has grown manifold since COVID 19 struck us. Without the basic education, they'll be more likely to head down a path that leads to lower paying jobs, poorer health, and the possible continuation of a cycle of poverty that creates immense challenges for families, neighborhoods, and communities. For some students, dropping out is the culmination of years of academic hurdles, missteps, and wrong turns. For others, the decision to drop out is a response to the conflicting life pressures, the need to help and support their family financially, or the demand of caring for siblings. Dropping out is sometimes about students being bored and seeing no connection between academic life and real life. And it's also about young people feeling disconnected from their peers and from teachers and other adults at school. And it's about schools and communities having too few resources to meet the complex emotional and academic needs of their most vulnerable youth. To discuss and provide more insight on today's topic, we have three guests with us. First, we have Mrs. Kalpana Baravkar, Principal of Vidya Pratishtan's New Bal Vikas Mandir, Baramati. Ma'am has more than 29 years of experience in the field of education. Ma'am has superheaded collaborative program where students of school collaborated with Asa Mercer, a school in Seattle, Washington. In 2015, she visited renowned schools in Singapore to study the best practices in education. She has also led and has been an integral part of various initiatives such as faculty development program, compilation of reports of Vidya Pratishthan, etc. She was appointed as an head examiner for science by CBSE board for Pune region in 2019-20. Under her able guidance, the school has received the British Council International School Award and has also been ranked second best co-ed school in Baramati by the Education World. India School Ranking 2017-18 and 2018-19. She has also successfully edited 15 volumes of the school magazine. The latest feather in the cap is the incorporation of NCC under the FSFS scheme. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. We are glad that we have you today with us.
Thank you, Vivek. And a very good evening to all. Vivek, Supriya Srivastava, as well as Rakhi Mathur. Good evening.
We also have with us Mrs. Rakhi Mathur, Principal of Anikant English Medium School, Baramati. Ma'am has more than 18 years of experience in education. Ma'am is highly motivated, devoted, and creative with the ability to lead from the front and promote the teamwork. Very good evening, ma'am. We are glad you could join us for today's talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We also have with us Supriya Srivastava, ma'am, Director Principal at Innovera School, Hadapsar, Pune. Ma'am has experience of more than 20 years in the field of education. Ma'am is a culture development enthusiast specializing in cultural development for school. She is on a mission to help and grow 100 schools and develop and multiply leaders at all levels. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining for today's talk.
Thank you so much, Vivek, and good evening to everybody else.
Okay, so we have a topic with us and we have seen that is the need of the hour. And of course, our authorities, government is taking some steps. But to give more insight to the stakeholders, first question I would like to start with Kalpana ma'am. How, as per you, how big is the problem? Is it a problem that is really big and needs utmost focus? Or yes, it can be relieved when we have other issues like COVID-19 vaccination and other things?
Well, I think COVID-19 has created huge challenges for all levels of society. It's battered the entire education system around the world. We really don't know how long this is going to last, whether a third wave is going to come. And Additional closures of schools, etc., will take place. All of us know that the hotels have opened, then the malls have opened, the cinema halls have opened, but only the schools. The current situation presents even more potential for students to be disengaged and to lose connection with education. I'd like to throw a little highlight on statistics, okay? UNICEF has said that 1.5 million schools closed down, affecting about 286 million children from primary and secondary schools. This adds to the 6 million girls and boys already out of school prior to COVID 19. And this has again resulted in a loss of about 32.6 lakh crores of rupees for the Indian government. To fight back again, the educational institutions have adopted what is called as the digital mode. NEP 2020 also states that the importance of online education has to be blended with the traditional education. Again, a global education network QS study says that the Indian network infrastructure is still far from ready to support. How are we going to survive? Just tell me. Only 24% households have access to the internet. In rural India, it's less than 4%. And then Niti Aayog report states that 55,000 villages in India still do not have mobile coverage network. And more than 36% of the schools in India still do not have electricity. Technology driven education is actually alienating all our children from especially the underprivileged sections of the society. It is preventing them from continuing their studies. Other stakeholders are also struggling. The teachers are always not trained, okay, or equipped to face this transition to online mode. So I think the problem is, it's a huge question mark. What's going to happen?
Definitely, ma'am, I agree to. Other than tier one and metro cities, when I see that for underprivileged, the category that you mentioned, when major motivation for children was the midday meal, when we have shifted to digital education, there is no way or no scope that the learning will continue. Definitely. Raki, ma'am, I would come to you and like to have your opinion on the same, please.
Certainly, this is a very big issue. We really need to pay a lot of attention to this issue because the students who are disengaging themselves from the regular course of studies, or they drop out from school before the completion of their elementary education, a lot of attention actually needs to be paid in this respect. And as Barukar madam has already explained, a lot of statistics really supports this, that certainly whether it is the government, whether it is the central government, whether it is the state government, everybody needs to come together and take a collaborative effort. Like there has to be a partnership in this respect. And I feel that the partnership from the parents is very, very much needed in this respect. And we as educators, we as academicians, we need to take a pivotal role in this respect and make the parents understand that whatever may be their problems, it is important to educate a child. The education is something which is an inalienable right of an individual. So that is why we have seen that the national education policy is also laying equal importance on this. In fact, the Sustainable Developmental Goals of the United Nations, the SDG 4, also seek to ensure quality education and inclusive education for all children all over the world. So certainly this needs to be taken up as a challenge. Actually, the attitude, the way we approach this problem is something which we need to understand. A positive attitude has to be undertaken. And as I said, a collaborative effort has to be undertaken, whereby the heads of the institution, the parents, the students, and all other stakeholders who are associated with this problem need to come together. And only then I think we will be able to handle this situation effectively.
Definitely, Raki ma'am. So, well, you have emphasized that yes, we should take the responsibility and try to ensure that this problem, yes, indeed, it is big, but we are the only ones who can curb it. Supriya ma'am, coming to you, can I have your opinion on the same, please? As per you, how big is the problem?
I don't know how big or small. The reason I'm saying this is, some days back I came across a picture of a child who was writing A, B, C on the windscreen of a car in the national capital, and that gave me a hint that, of course, the child knows how to script. He's little literate, but then the condition of the child, his attire and the way he was all looked after at that point of time didn't suggest that he's been going to school. And of course, there are reasons why children are not attending school at this point of time. However, when I come to how big it is, the sad part is, uh, dropouts have been there previously also. There were various reasons why children were dropping out of school, and majorly then the reasons were financial crisis, or disinterest in education, or a gap that they felt not interested in attending school, because, as you said, there wasn't a link or a connection between their social skills required today and the things being taught in school. But primarily today, when we see dropouts in schools, it is not just for those reasons. There is also an attitude shift of the parents. Uh, of course, I mean, there are many who would think that, okay, this is a 0 year. Let's let our child sit at home and then relax and be in safe environment. But then they are missing on to something which is very, very crucial, and that is called time, as well as again missing on to and creating a larger gap between what the child knew to what the child will be required to know after the pandemic gets over. So very sensitive on the fact that we need to be ensuring that, as all the stakeholders of the education sector, be it the parents, teachers, the government agencies, all of us actually need to work together, do a lot of counseling of parents. If I have time, there is one case study we were going through when we were undergoing a CBSE training, and it talked about a principal who encouraged the girls of his school, those girls who used to drop out because they would reach puberty and they would start with their menstrual cycles. So the families felt they are good enough to get married, and those girls would stop attending school. So very gradually, the principal reached out to each and every family. He created a case study there, and he brought girls back to school even after they reached their puberty. So I think big responsibility on us, along with uh, responsibility of counseling the parents to reach out to children. It's the big task, and I think all of us completely, would like to work together on that.
Definitely,
So
ma'am. Cumulative efforts needed from our side, from all aspects, from counseling to taking the initiative and ensuring that, yeah, they do not stop coming to school due to maybe various reasons that is prevailing among their society, their family, or otherwise. So I'll continue with you only, Supriya ma'am. So, what are the major causes leading to increase in the dropout rate?
see, if I actually went through a lot of statistics and other things. So of course, financial issues are one of the major concerns if we look into today's parameter. Um, I was going through a story of a girl whose parents managed to buy a device for her so that she could attend the online school. But when it came to them paying off for the device, they had to sell off a cow which was there at their home. Um, the inability to reach out, to the inability to get connected through internet, because the stats say that around 40% of Indians are connected on internet. So the 60%, of course, is lagging behind, and sadly, it is coming back to our children in one way or the other. So schools definitely are making efforts. Not all, I would say, because there are a lot of schools which ran only on WhatsApp, and we know how effective WhatsApp universities work. So a lot of serious concern there, because It's a cycle, until unless we train, we reach out, we get the right results from our children, and then again there is a need for another training, and the cycle just goes on. So a huge gap there, I would say.
Definitely, ma'am, I get that. Yes, leading to pandemic, digital divide is one of the cause, because still in India we have, like, as the census states, more than majority does not have the electricity and good internet connection. Yet how can studies happen? Even if they have electricity, a smart device, and again how they need to, like, how they understand the importance of education, we still don't know. So that's the problem. Kalpana, ma'am, your take on the same. What are the
Well,
major causes according to you?
I think there are many reasons for leading to increase in dropout rate. A few of them could be poverty. All of us are aware that the poverty rate in India is immense. And due to poverty, I think parents are unable to afford the fees, send their children. The children also have to work along with their parents in order to make both ends meet. A few could be, I mean, another reason could be the distance from the home to the school. We have come across certain articles in the newspaper, etc., where girls have to travel. I mean, in order to commute to school, they have to travel, pass through a very, very narrow bridge, which is a great risk for their lives. Then there is also excessive academic pressure, pressure from parents, pressure from teachers, pressure from peers. All this also could be one of the reasons for the dropouts. One very worrying factor is bullying. Most of the children, I mean, a small percentage of children also drop out when they are bullied by their peers, etc. We've come across cases in the newspaper, etc. Medical student also had to commit suicide because of this ragging and bullying that was taking place in the college campus. Girls normally, as Mrs. Supriya Srivastava had just mentioned, in one of our case studies, we have come across, in our annual pedagogical plan, we have come across a case where girls had to leave school because they had to help their mother in the daily chores. Now it's not only girls, okay. Normally the girls were not given that much priority to go, I mean, attend school, etc. But nowadays we even find the boys, they have to help their parents in their small kind of grocery shops, etc. And in this pandemic, it has been very, very essential for them to join hands with the parents. Even non-supporting family backgrounds, alcoholism, violence in the family, unavailability of hygienic and safe washrooms also could be one of the reasons. Then the other thing, as all of us know, the strong internet facility which is not there, non-availability of gadgets, the phones, the laptops, or whatever it is, which is the only means by which a teacher can get across to the students. So there are, I mean, number of reasons, and all of us, as Raki ma'am had said, we'll all have to join hands. We'll have to find some kind of measures as to how we can overcome all these different obstacles and somehow get these kids back to school.
Definitely, ma'am. Yes, reasons are numerous, but yet our efforts will have to increase manifold to ensure that this is taken care of. Rakhi, ma'am, I will come to you. So, what are the major causes leading to increase in the dropout rate as per you?
Uh, Certainly, there are many, many causes for children dropping out from school. But what I believe is that the quality of education actually plays a very important role. Actually, we have seen it many times that teachers are not able to engage their students within the classroom. Students are just attending the classroom as passive listeners. They are not actively participating within the classroom. And for this, who is to blame? Is it the administration? Is it the government? Is it the management? Or is it the teachers themselves? So, certainly, it is important that teachers who are primarily serving as the facilitators of knowledge, a continuous engagement of the teachers so that they understand the need of the time and they shift their pedagogies, they shift their teaching techniques according to the requirement. So, like in this pandemic situation, we have seen that suddenly, when all the teachers in all parts of the world suddenly had to shift from a traditional mode of teaching and learning whereby everybody was using a blackboard and a chalk, suddenly you are asked to teach through a laptop, through a mobile device, with the help of the internet. Certainly it was very difficult for the teachers. So it is very important that teachers need to shift with the time, and then only can they make their classrooms engaging, because we know that the attention span of a student is at the most, especially higher classes, if we see students of 8, 9, 10, 10, at the most 15 to 20 minutes we could understand as their attention span. But if the classroom is engaging, if the activities, if we are adopting an activity based technique method of teaching, some kind of project based methods are being used, then certainly we can understand that students will be engaged within the classroom. Then maybe the dropout rates could be less. Another reason I feel is the gender inequality which is there. In a country like India, where we are continuously stressing that all men and women are equal to each other, but we know this, that in the practically exists in very few homes of India. Like a lot of girls are before they reach a particular class, maybe it is class 5 or maybe it is class 10, girls are not allowed to complete their education. There could be many reasons behind it. If we take it in the rural areas, there could be problems of labor requirement at home, the household chores are to be done. And in this respect, a girl at home would probably be a kind of a helping hand to her mother or to her family members. So, plus child labor could also be an important factor, whereby the parents are wanting the particular girl to work in the field or to work at home, and they are not willing to send her to school. So, this could be another reason. Plus, another major factor which I feel is the lot of pressure which is there upon the students, the mental pressure which is there upon the students, the fight for marks. Actually, the competition amongst the students is primarily in terms of who gets better grades, who get better marks. And this peer pressure is mounting up so much that some of the students are not able to take up this pressure, and they have no other option but to move out of this system. So even some of them we have seen take some extreme steps in this regard. So it is important that a happy atmosphere should be created within the classrooms. As we say, happy teachers create a happy experience. So joyful learning experiences will certainly go a long way in curtailing this dropout. So certainly a lot of factors actually contribute, but yes, in my opinion, the quality of education, that needs to improve. If that is improved, then certainly this dropout rate will be curbed. Thank you.
Definitely, ma'am, and I would love to highlight your point about quality of education. Said that, like, since last 1.5 years, teachers have traveled lots of extra miles to ensure that education continues for the children. But the way you've said that, yes, engaging the student, that is very much required effort that needs to be done. When we see private schools, yeah, that is done at its best. But those who are in government schools, if a teacher's job is taken, each child who is studying under you should be treated as your own child. So definitely, I love your point. So for these two questions, yes, I would like to conclude that from prevailing issues like poverty, child labor, gender inequality, lack of resources, to contemporary issues like poor internet facilities, digital device, and financial issues that has come due to pandemic, has led to increase in the dropout rate. Rakhi ma'am, I'll continue with you only. So how should we address this learning loss that has happened due to the pandemic? We have discussed that there more than 60 to 70% students could not be in touch with education post-pandemic due to various reasons. So how should we address the learning loss?
As I said, my emphasis is on improving the quality of education. And for this, what I feel is the continuous professional development of teachers is the key. If we want to address this crisis, if we want to address the learning gaps which have happened, continuous professional development of the teachers is necessary. Teachers should be the innovators. They should be ready for the change. And if they are ready for the change, I'm sure they can act as motivators. They can act as guides. encouraging their students to shift to this process, to ensure that gone are the days when people were mugging up their answers and they were writing their answers. It is primarily something which you learn by doing, experiential learning, which so much is being emphasized by the CBSE, that we need to emphasize learning by doing. That Rattamar technique is not going to work in this respect. So certainly, improving upon the quality of the teachers. If needed, we can divide the students into groups. Students can be divided into groups depending on their understanding of certain concepts, like depending on the bright students, depending on the average students, depending on the slow learners. What I feel is that if a peer learning kind of a technique is appointed, or it is taken up, whereby a bright student becomes a helper of a not so bright student, then I think they will learn so much better from each other instead of a teacher. So this kind of peer learning is a very effective way of handling the situation. Plus, what I feel is that innovative involvement of the community. We need to involve the community in this respect, and for this and in this respect, some kind of motivation needs to be provided, in the sense that we need to convince the parents that this situation will change, and it can happen only if parents themselves are ready to accept these changes. So, as I said, the community is important, the teachers are important, students are very important, and in this respect, peer group learning, I think, will be one of the biggest help in overcoming this crisis situation.
Definitely, ma'am. It's a new concept, and all the stakeholders, parents who are listening to this, yes, if you're not in touch with school, teachers, of course, the child's friend who is in touch with education can contribute and ensure that his learning continues. Great point, ma'am. Indeed. Supriya, ma'am, can I have your inputs on the same? That what are the ways to ensure that? How should we address the learning loss that has happened due to the pandemic?
How should we address the learning loss? I think as a school, if all the schools and teachers we start doing something to bridge what the child
Bridge
has
course.
missed already, bridge courses, and of course, as you know, I keep repeating parent counseling as one of the thing, because I myself am a parent and I know how important it is for me to make a mindset shift if I want that shift to happen in my child's life, right? So I really promote, I really it's like I can stand for this wholeheartedly. Second, I think, as a child, when let's go beyond the COVID situation. When a child leaves school, there are, as both the eminent speakers have already said, there are multiple reasons where the child feels he is not a fit for the school. Okay, so why does this happen? Is because the child doesn't find himself suitable for the classroom. Possibly I don't enjoy maths at all. So when I go to school, I have to face my maths teacher who is expecting everybody in the class to know how, all that is being taught. So allowing the child to choose, allowing the child to realize, allowing the child to fail and stand up, allowing the child to, okay, fine, you don't know anything, but still you enjoy coming to school, and then that could be the reason that you probably, prefer a brush in your hand rather than a pen. You prefer a basketball in your hand rather than, a pile of textbooks. So of course, with NEP coming in, a lot of reforms are on the talks, and we've already started working on it. But for those who've already skipped school, for those who've already sat down for the current situation that we are talking about, fine, let the schools go a mile extra, let the surveys really be done on a serious note, let the data come to us as a fact would say, because there was this XYZ survey done in the month of February, and the report says that there is one certain state in India which says that there was not a single child who ran without a device. I mean, can you believe this? So we need serious surveys, not just from government's end or the private agencies, but we need a really conscious effort from the grassroots people who are working with children who have been going to government schools. uh, I am sorry I'm saying this here, but then I don't know how did the class 10th marks calculation for all the state government schools were done. Because when we talk about CBSE or we talk about any other board, we know that it was given. Then we were asked to recheck it. But then when we go into the details of the story from some schools which are we get really shocking things to know. So if there isn't a seriousness, there isn't a conscious work being done from all the levels, I don't think we'll, 5 or 10 people or even thousands of principals sitting together will be able to do it. Because we need to know the facts well before we step into okay karna kya hai. That that in itself is a challenge, because I am sitting with a report and it really says that not a single child in a X particular state or a particular state has a child, has run without a device. I don't think it is believable. So some fact checks, real conscious fact checks are required. And then we can go into ki ab aage kya karna hai? How do we work onto the curriculum, how do we work on the pedagogy, and how do we make the classroom interesting? Because pehle aao, pehle bhejo to hamare paas, we are ready to work on them. So that's my take.
Definitely, ma'am. I would like to highlight, yes, the transparent surveys, fact checks, and database. And second, conscious efforts, not just the efforts for the sake of it. Yes, as you highlighted this, even we are not sure about how practicals were conducted in majority of schools across the country for 10th and 12th when marks were given, because practicals board told the schools to conduct the practicals, but yes, but due to pandemic, conscious efforts were not taken, and of course we will have some discussion on that at some other time. But yes, it's a fact. Kalpana, ma'am, your take on the same, please. How should
Okay.
we address the
Yes,
learning loss?
yes, I'd just like to add on to what Supriya Srivastava ma'am has said. When school reopens, I think we'll have to start with remedial learning. And this needs to be prioritized through bridge courses. So this was going to be really a very, very essential fact. And this is also the recommendation of the Student Learning Enhancement Guidelines put forth by the NCRT recently. Then secondly, the old approach of grade-wise progression, as per the RT, we just promote the children from one standard to the other, will no longer be conducive to learning, okay? We'll all have to shift to what is called as a modular-based learning that builds on the core competencies that a student really has to understand. And more stress will have to be laid on skill development. The curriculum also will have to be modified so that it includes a little content from the previous grade and also the important content that is required in the present grade. One more aspect to this is accelerated learning. Okay. Now, this is specially noticed with closure of schools, etc. We've realized that most of the underprivileged sections of society have been weaned away from education. So, with these accelerated learning programs, it will help the children to cover all the core academic material in less time. So such kind of programs we'll have to initiate. The schools, the educators, etc. will have to take up an initiative and come up with these kind of accelerated programs. Even targeted intensive programs on basic literacy and numeracy. As I think we have to stop quoting about the CBSE because we are here on a common platform. But then the CBSE has given us wonderful handbooks, okay? And one of the latest handbooks is on foundational literacy as well as numeracy, which has to be really implemented in all the standards, right from the pre-primary to standard 12, etc. Then in places where there is good connectivity, technology based learning can also be implemented, okay? And this will also help in the remedial as well as accelerated learning. Hybrid learning also should be allowed nowadays. You should allow a child, whether if he wants to study from home or he wants to attend, whether he wants to come to school or he wants to attend the online classes. And then the radio and TV broadcast also will help in this particular in this particular crisis. I can give you an example. In Baramati, we have what is known as a community radio called as Vasundhara Vahini. And in the initial days when we were struck with COVID-19, this was in March 2019, and in April, most of our teachers who still were not very, I mean, in the month of March especially, when we still were not very, proficient with the use of Zoom and Google, etc., we used the community radio, and it was a real success, and we could reach out to each and every student in Baramati. So these are a few ways in which we can overcome the crisis.
Definitely, ma'am. If under all the limitations, even a small way like the community radio or even a broadcast through the village mic or the tomb of a temple or a mosque, that has also worked because I have heard stories about that in a village school. Education was carried on that way. Important is conscious efforts. I totally agree to you. So, Kalpana ma'am, I'll continue with you only. So, yes, we have discussed, and there are vulnerable groups to this. Even if with a single issue persisting or increasing, they will drop out. So, what are the ways to ensure that the most vulnerable group stays in sync with the learning process?
Okay, the most vulnerable groups, the underprivileged society. So we have to provide what is known as equitable and inclusive access to digital learning. Educational institutions can tie up with the government also, as well as local organizations, etc. There are many instances where the NGOs, certain the software companies, then the automobile industry, etc., they have what is called as a CSR fund. And if these educational institutions approach these companies, etc., these industries, etc., certainly they will lend a helping hand and they will help to provide these hardware equipment such as the phones, the Android phones, the laptops, etc. I can just state a few examples. In New Zealand, a new online learning space and hard copy learning packs and special television programs have been offered to the students. In Colombia, the government has come up with about 80,000 pedagogical resources to which the low income families have free access, and for this they don't even have to use their mobile data. So this is about countries outside India. In UK, there are different kinds of resources for those with learning disabilities such as dyslexia, etc. So distribution of free electronic devices, etc. We have to partner with certain public as well as private organizations, and all this can certainly help. Or even students in certain refugee camps, etc. They can receive what is called as weekly homework packages. We have read about this in the newspapers, etc., in Iran, in Israel, etc., where they are unable to connect on the online platform, but they receive what is called as weekly homework packages. Even virtual excursions, then video conferencing, lessons, all these will certainly help in bridging the gap and help in removing all of us out of this crisis. And finally, I think the counselor also, every school now, most of the schools have what is known as a counselor. The counselors, the special educators, all these are a tremendous help because everyone is under stress. Everyone, they're living in an isolation. And in order to overcome all this mental stress and strain, the counselors also are of great help.
Definitely, ma'am. Yes, we have the information about how other countries are coping up. And I would pray that even the 10% of the efforts on education is taken by our administration the way other countries are doing. Let's hope we and pray that in future it happens. But right now, situation is tough. Rakhi, ma'am, your take on the same, please. The most vulnerable group, how should we keep them in sync?
The most vulnerable group is, in my opinion, the children of the migrant laborers. Like in the situation we have seen when people are moving from one state to another in search of jobs, in search of better incomes, the children are caught in a sticks actually because they do not know when they have to move with their parents. So continuous movement of students or the students whose parents are migrant laborers, this actually, in my opinion, is the most vulnerable group So what can be done is that some kind of package needs to be provided to them, so that some kind of books which along with some kind of devices needs to be made available to these category of people, so that wherever they move, in whichever situation there are, some kind of backup plan should be available, so that if they are moving from one state to another, from one district to another, as they move, their books certainly are moving with them, but some kind of guidance facilities, maybe from the local panchayat or from the gram sabha, could be made available to these students, because their situation, I feel, is not so easy to cope up. And another category of students who are most vulnerable are the children with special needs, the Divyang students. Because up till now, nothing had been thought about them. Maybe only with regard to blind students, with regard to them, maybe some kind of developments had been done. But what is being done with regard to students who are not able to hear, or who have some kind of speech problem, or who have some kind of mental retardation or things like that? So primarily it is important to address this group, and for this reason the national education policy is now ensuring that special emphasis is being given to ensure that technology is utilized to ensure that content development is there, especially for children who are from this Divyang category of students. So now we have the e-books, we have the audio books, we have audio to text, we have text to audio, we have a audio calculator. So many things are coming up, which is probably making the lives of these Divyang students very much. It is trying to manage it. So certainly those who are in this normal sphere of learning, they also need to take a kind of a compassionate attitudes towards such kind of students, help them, maybe go out of their way to help these students, so that they too can be brought back within the mainstream of education system.
Definitely, you highlighted about the specially able children. So we must ensure that they also get a good place in the society and their all the rights that is there for them. So Priya ma'am, your take on the same, that what are the ways to ensure? I'll remove the most part here. What are the ways to ensure that the vulnerable group stays in sync with the learning? So
Completely
I want to
agree
make
with
the
Rakhi
domain
ma'am.
bigger.
Yeah, I completely agree with Rakhi ma'am and Kalpana ma'am. Children with special needs and children of the migrant laborers. In my opinion, I see girls and their education as one of the serious concern, because for me, I come across so many girls who've probably undergone a lot of challenge when they attend school. It's not just about them getting admitted. The unhygienic conditions under which many schools and their toilets run. There have been reasons why girls don't want to attend school, because they don't want to go to that washroom. And once they drop out, or once they don't like to go down to school, the other thing to do at home is the household chores, that leading to early child marriages. And of course, if there is a girl child at home and there is nobody to look after, they again become like the easiest target of pre to sexual abuses, not just from anybody but from within their families also. Now, how do we solve this? I feel, one is like the example I stated earlier about that the principal who could, reach out, who could create a social reform in the vicinity. I feel that, as schools, as government, we shouldn't just be talking about Beti Bachao. Okay, we should and Beti Padhao. We should be really doing it to the core. Um, we should stop targeting children to appear for their board exams. There's nothing like you just get a certificate once you've completed your boards. Let's target on making them more skilled, more abled, okay, who even if they don't have a certificate, they should be able to do better, they should be able to do more. Because I'm sure we have read about so many stories of people who were dropouts. right? But they could manage to get educated, or they could manage to do whatever they are doing and extremely well today, is because they had the urge to continue their education. No formal education, probably a certificate of, just going through their 10th standard or completing their boards, or not even educated enough for sitting in a board exam. um, Tackling today's challenge, I think as a school, most of the private schools, I'm sure, are doing a lot of effort on providing what can be done best. And I can say that with confidence. The simple reason is, we are seeing it, and there is some other reason also why we need to do that more. But then, schools which are completely managed, or those who aren't very serious about it, probably they would start, as Kalpana ma'am already said, the weekly worksheet or the weekly bunch of work that the child needs to complete at home. There should be a pattern of weekly reporting of the child at school, or the pattern of weekly or monthly or fortnightly reporting of the parent at school. There are schools I know even now, they make the children, like, I don't know if I can quote, but my school, we ask the parents to submit the child's notebook every month, so that we can just keep a tab on how much he or she is writing at home. Because we know once they are back from, back to physical school, the biggest challenge we are going to face is to ask the child to hold a pen or pencil in hand, right? So we need to do, or we need to keep pushing them onto the lines of, okay, this is going to be back, darling. Just just a phase that we are going to get over with, and wapas aoge, so you will need to smell the, the new textbooks. You will have to hold the pencils in hand. You will have to mingle with your friends in school. So, vulnerable, yes, of course. For me, I'm very, very sensitive towards girls and their education, their safety and security, their growth, their productivity. So I feel a lot of things as school, as principals and educationists, we should look primarily into the segment that we would like to work on, and some special effort, some special concession rather, in case if we can think of, why don't we get only girls admissions when there is an RT admission happening. So instead of going into a, class distribution, or a income distribution, why don't we just apply it or give it to girls, rather than leaving it open for everybody? Just a thought. I know I might be completely not in so just a thought.
No, definitely a great opinion. Because again, I'll repeat two quotes here. Once, like, teaching a girl is like teaching the all, entire next generation coming after. So girls' education must be given utmost priority. And again, we are still lagging behind. We have come far, but we are lagging behind. And second point that you raised about, yes, NEP is working towards it. The demolition of 10th board and sub choice of subjects, not imposing some subject which a child has disliking on. Plus, yes, do not study for the certificates. Oh, Three Idiots का एक dialogue है कि काबिल बनो कामयाबी झक मार के तुम्हारे पीछे आएगी. So yes, it's never about 10th percentage or 12th percentage. It's about the practical knowledge or that you have gained so far, and how you can use it in the life to help others, to make the community, society, world a better place. So that should be the message given to all of them. Supriya ma'am, so again I'll continue with you only. So what should be the role of school in controlling the issue?
Uh, what should be the role of a school? It's a big question, because I think it starts and ends with school. Because as school, we can bring in the change if we want to. Uh, it is just that we need to step up. We need to get up from our seats and move out, reach out to homes, counsel, meet, tell them what they are supposed to do, as in the parents. And like when we talk in school, I usually tell my team that you should be able to teach a child who's like me, who just doesn't want to learn through a conventional method. So and probably pictures make me remember things better. So I think, as heads of the schools, we need to have a clarity on how and what we want to really do, how we will like our school to be, what legacy are we leaving behind. When people talk about a particular school or any school, making things simpler rather than complicating it too much. Because even when we are teaching in the class, or even when we are talking to our team members, sometimes there's so many big things that we talk about, but we don't make things simpler. Because only if we are able to make things simpler for our team members, I think it percolates down in the similar manner. Second thing, I think, around the child's life, having an extremely good relationship with the parent. Because until unless I can go to my parents home and have a cup of tea and just talk about the weather, I don't think I am able to justify my role as a school leader. Okay, until unless I have one XYZ parent of the school feels that he can come down to school and have lunch with me because he'll be offered, I don't think I'm doing well as a school leader. So building a very very strong relationship between the stakeholders, the parent, teacher, and the school. There, if we are able to build a family, like in real sense, not just for the sake of partnering with parents and all, if we really do it in actual sense, I think we'll be able to bring a change. Because then we are connected with heart. It's not a transactional relationship. It is not a brain wala dimag lagane wala rishta. It is more about, I'm touching your heart, and so you're connected with me. So here there the parents will listen to everything that we say, and it happens with all of us, I assume. So as a school, build a very strong partnership with parents, and and let your teachers do wonders in the classroom. Allow them to just freely teach whatever, however, wherever they want to teach. No restrictions.
I totally agree with both of your points, ma'am. First one, synergy with all the stakeholders, and second, I think that one you said before, empathizing with the students' need. It's not what we want to teach; it's what they want to learn and how well they can learn from the way they think it's best for them. Kalpana, ma'am, your take on the same, please.
Well,
What
I
should be
think
the role of school?
yes,
Yeah.
I think all teachers, no, first and foremost, or the entire teaching fraternity, they should monitor their students. Okay, they can use the data of the pre-COVID times, just before the COVID had struck, etc., and the data on regarding attendance, the behavior of the child, the scholastic, post-scholastic areas. All this data can be identified, and based on this data, they can find out the risk of all those children who are likely to drop out of the school, and then after this, they can give some personalized support to the kids. And then, as has said, it is the idea of strengthening bonds with the parents as well as the students. It's very, very important. Let the students know that they matter. Okay, they are missed, and we are always there besides them. That particular assurance is very, very important. That moral support is very, very important. That can also be done by sending some personalized text to the children, or just making a phone call and asking about their whereabouts, etc. We can also identify how exactly is the background at home, what problems they are facing, etc. So this will also give a lot of emotional support to the entire child as well as his family members. And then when we come to the academic side, I think we'll have to we all have this system, whether it's any kind of school, the SSC, CBSE, or the ICSE. We make what is called as an annual pedagogical plan at the beginning of the academic year. So now in this COVID times, this entire academic plan, I think, has to be customized. It has to be customized. It has to be made slightly different from what it was in the previous years. Career counseling, then leadership training programs, even motivational. We can even invite guest speakers to give motivational talks also. The TED Talks are very, very inspiring. And most of the teachers in our school, we normally post one or two TED Talks to, I mean, across to the children of standard 8, 9, and 10. And believe me, they've all been really inspired by all these inspirational videos and talks, etc. And we can also reward the children with e-certificates by organizing certain kinds of in-house programs for the children, etc. So in this way, I think we can somehow or the other overcome the entire problem. But strengthening bonds, I think, with the children, letting the children know that yes, we are here with you and we will never let you down. Tell us what your problem is, and we'll try to both solve it together and find a way out. That's very important.
Definitely, ma'am, the appreciative approach. And of course, children are going through a lot, social isolation, they're not meeting the peer group. So, yes, it's our responsibility to ensure that they are in their best state of mind. And of course, these efforts and activities that you have proposed will certainly help. Rakhi, ma'am, your take on the same, please.
Mm, As Srivastava ma'am and Kalpana ma'am have already pointed out, partnership with the stakeholders is obviously a very important concept, and schools need to ensure that they are partnering with all the stakeholders in an equal manner so that all of them can make a contribution in ensuring that the dropout rates can certainly go down. In addition to that, what I feel is that student tutoring can play a very important role. And in this respect, we can involve not just the teacher who is actually teaching within the school, but maybe even a retired teacher, any member from the community, maybe a poet, maybe a dancer, maybe a singer. Because as we are continuously pointing out, that children need not just be confined within what is written in the pages of the textbook. They need to be taught something which for life. So it has to be a lifelong learning. So if, as Kalpana ma'am pointed out, if we can invite any some kind of an expert singer or a dancer to come and perform in front of the students will be actively engaged in this process. Similarly, suppose if we can arrange a career guidance talk, then this will go a long way. Students will be motivated, because especially students who are there in the higher classes, who are now ready to decide whether they want to take up which subject in their higher classes. Or like, in fact, these days now, since the silos according to the national education policy is not going to be there, the rigid separation between the arts and the science stream is not going to be there. But students certainly need to identify their talent. They need to identify the area in which they are very good. And in fact, I would like to share with you that our school teachers have come out with a kind of an innovative program. Like especially now as the Ganpati festival is going on, our teachers are trying to put together a small program for the students, because every year what is happening is that when it was a physical school, it was the students who were actively engaged in a item which they were putting forward in front of the school, in front of the management, in front of the parents. But I thought that maybe this year we could do something different. Why don't our teachers put up a dance program or a small skit or a small motivational story related to the birth of Lord Ganesha? Then certainly this could be a very prominent step in ensuring that schools will curtail this dropout. And I hope my teachers succeed in this, because they are really working hard on this project as of now. Thank you.
Definitely, ma'am. Important is the ambition for which it is being done. It's not about succeeding or failure. It's not about showcasing the best dance performance. It's about taking that step ahead. Lots of questions to ask, but I think we are short of time here. So maybe I'll have the final questions answered individually. Supriya ma'am, this question I would like to ask you, that what should be the role of parents in curbing the dropout rate?
Um, See, just believe that why are parents insisting on English as a communication, okay, for their children? They want their children to speak really good English, because they know there is something that is there in their mind. There's something they're thinking about the future, okay. Now, if we make them realize about the regular education also on a similar line, then probably things would become a little easier for the parent. I feel parents need, okay, not all, The ones who are taking this year as a zero year, because I'm going back to pandemic over and over again. Those who are taking this year as a zero year, they need to make a shift in their attitude, um, making them, you know, making them realize that instead of allowing a child to sit at home, probably make him enroll into some other course, if not regular school. Let him learn over the time, because the moment a child is out of his learning habit, it's very difficult to get them back. There was a survey and it said that for those children who are attending school online, there is a gap of 30% in their academic development. So let's think of those who are not even attending that, those who are sitting at home and not attending online school at all. So it just might just be a gap of 100 or plus percent, because we experience that every day, wherein children, when they come back, that okay, we would like to continue now, and when we do a gap analysis or when we try and understand, they've forgotten almost 2 years curriculum. So conscious, plus one last thing is, parents should be allowed to request for repeat of the child's class in the school, because most of the times, because it is not allowed, they push the child to go to the next class. And here, because I don't even know step 1, how do I come to step 2? So my interest in the school goes down gradually, and ultimately one day I will say, mujhe kuch nahi samajh mein aata, I better sit back at home, and then I will be out of school there. So a request of repeat should be something that the government should encourage and allow, that okay, if you want to make a child repeat in a certain class, go ahead, it is entirely on you. Because of course parents do understand where the child falls. So that.
Definitely, ma'am. If it's a child's choice and parents' choice, if they want to stay in the same class and strengthen the concept, of course, because at the later classes like 11th and 12th, we know how the shift is. The shift between from 8th to 9th or 10th to 11th. So, and it's difficult because how child has been going through the education, a sudden shift, it's not easy for everyone to. If they wish, of course, they should repeat. So, I totally agree with your point. And yes, of course, all your other points as well. Kalpana ma'am. So, final question to you. So, what are the ways to get back the students into learning again, those who have already dropped out?
Okay. First and foremost, I think in order to get back the students to learning again, the teachers will certainly have to balance academics with the other activities. Because the moment the children come back, uh, every teacher should not be in that particular mode. It's only academics, 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 since we've missed out on that. So they should have a different kind of a structure where they will be able to balance both. It has to be a joint effort of both private as well as government organizations. Okay, just recently I've come across the government has also identified about 5,000 Bal Rakshaks. Okay, these Bal Rakshaks will be people along, I mean, from the local government, etc. They will be identified. They, along with the teachers, will be given the responsibility to bring back the students to school once school reopens. Then the center and the state government must also raise the spending on education to at least 6% of GDP. At present, it is less than 3%. And the education minister's budget for digital e-learning was slashed to rupees 4,600 and 609 crores from 604 crores after COVID-19 has struck. I think this is a very, very huge amount. And we have to somehow, time or the other, realize that just as food, clothing, and shelter are the basic needs, education is also one of the basic needs, and it should be on priority basis. So I think with these things, we'll have to let the students talk also. We have to listen to the students. We have to understand what exactly is going on in their mind. We'll all have to catch up with all the work that has been missed out during this COVID-19. We'll have to thing have what is known as a positive attitude. And again, as per NEP, it has said that art integration will be a very, very integral part of our curriculum. So when art integration has been incorporated in the syllabus, that will really help the students to come back into the system. Service learning and career and technical education also. In Germany, there are courses where this career, the children, along with their academics, they also are given the opportunity to work, and, or in other words, you can say they earn and learn. Children right from this schooling from standard 8, 9 and 10 in Germany, they are given this particular opportunity. So I think it is very, very necessary that we all join hands. And recently, I can tell you, just today we've received a circular again from the CBSE, where the CBSE has asked us, just today we've received the circular. The CBSE has asked every school to appoint what is called as life skills and well-being ambassadors. So we have to appoint at least 4 to 5 students, and these life skills and well-being ambassadors will spread the message of the importance of education. And through this, I think we can make a difference.
Definitely, ma'am. Rakhi, ma'am, I would like to hear your opinion on both the questions: role of parents in curbing the dropout rate, and what are the ways to get back students into learning again, please.
Um, with regard to the role of parents, I would like to draw your attention to some of the schemes actually which have been started in a few states. Actually, if we talk about in Odisha, there is a scheme which is going on which is known as Ghar Ghar Arunima. According to this, which is started in the Anganwadi school areas, those children who are dropping out from these Anganwadi schools, what is being done is that some kind of fun learning activities are being undertaken. Ghare ghare means, the word ghare means ghar. It means home. So home-based learning activities, fun activities are being undertaken so that students are engaged, they are stimulated, and they are actively involved in an atmosphere which ensures the emotional and social well-being. Plus, there is another scheme which is going on in Chhattisgarh. That is also going on in accordance with the Department of Women and Child Development sphere. In collaboration with UNICEF, the Chhattisgarh government actually has started two schemes. One is known as the Chakmak Abhiyan, and the other is known as the Sajag Abhiyan. Actually, these are also ensuring for all-round development of the students. And who are involved in this? Not just the students, but the parents, the grandparents, and all the guardians who are at home. They are all to collaborate and ensure that effective teaching learning takes place. So certainly, very innovative schemes have been undertaken by some of the state governments to ensure that schools, that parents especially, are actively involved in this process, because as we know, students are at home. It may not be possible for every teacher to walk into the school or to walk into the home of every student. So if the guardians at home, if the parents, grandparents, with their knowledge, with their stories, if they create a fun learning atmosphere within the home itself, then maybe this, as we always know, that it is the home which is the first learning environment of a student. So that really can be utilized, especially ensuring that the dropout rates is less. And if we consider the role of the schools, then certainly the schools certainly have to take up a very what I would say, like a leadership role has to be taken up by the school, because the school can no longer remain in the background. It has to take up and ensure that active interaction takes place between the parents and the school. In that respect, some kind of weekly meetings or monthly meetings could be arranged, even if it is not in through a physical mode. An online meeting could be arranged whereby parents and teachers could interact with each other, understanding what kind of problems their students are facing at home. Then maybe kind of a personalized text message or maybe a simple phone call which a teacher does to a parent at his or her home is certainly a kind of a motivation. Anytime a teacher rings up a student, I'm sure the student gets very excited that today my teacher had rung me up inquiring about how I am or how much homework I have done. So certainly these, I think, could be effective ways whereby both the parents and the school can help in reducing the dropout rates.
Definitely, ma'am. And I thank you all for your valuable guidance, insight, and time that you have devoted towards this talk. I would like to have your concluding message for our viewers, students, and parents for the same. Kalpana, ma'am, I'll start with you.
Okay, I think after this discussion, I think everyone has to realize that education is vital in our life because it's the foundation on which we build everything else. First, though, let's eliminate the notion that education is something formal linked only to the classroom. It's not. Classrooms are not the start or end of human education. Education is where the mind grows as well as expands. So let's all join hands together and somehow or the other bring all these children who are out of school back into the mainstream. Thank you, Vivek.
Definitely, ma'am. Thank you so much. Rakhi, ma'am, your message for our viewers, students, and parents, please.
Uh, my message to the viewers and the parents is that, first of all, do not pressurize your child. Already in this pandemic situation, children have been cut off from the school. They are not connected to their friends. They are not able to meet their friends on a daily basis. And in fact, there are many things which students can share with their friends, but they cannot share with their parents at home. So, first of all, parents need to understand that they need to give each and everybody some personal space. Yes, so giving space to the students, understanding that each of them have a personality of their own, allow that personality to grow, allow them to develop on their own. They're all beautiful flowers which are just ready to bloom, who are ready to grow up, but some kind of breathing space should be given to them. It is not that if you give them too much of water or too much of sunlight, suddenly a small bud will grow into a beautiful flower. It is going to blossom only when the right time comes. So certainly support from the parents, support from the teachers, support from the school administration, support from the community at large is the only way through which we can solve this problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Indeed, very encouraging. So, Priya, ma'am, your concluding message for our children, viewers, and parents.
See, Corona taught us a lot of things, and I think the best thing that Corona taught us was, how to reach out to everybody through just a caller tune, which said कि ये महामारी and आप mask पहनो और sanitize करो. Let's change that to school चले हम. Okay, simple. I think the more as an individual, and that will definitely reach out to the laborer, the regular parent, or I mean, I'm sorry, use the regular parent, but then like it reaches out to everybody because you're calling at least 5 people in a day. So every time it registers, okay, chalo school chale hum. And I think that's the easiest way to pass the message and the seriousness of what we are facing right now. So one learning from Corona, of course.
Definitely, ma'am. And of course, I'm pretty sure this message will reach to the right people at the right time for sure, because this video is going to stay. Thank you so much. Yes, I take this opportunity to thank all three of you, Kalpana Barovkar ma'am from Bal Vikas Mandir, Vidya Pratishthan's new Bal Vikas Mandir, Baramati, Rakhi Mathur ma'am of Anikant English Medium School, and Supriya Srivastava ma'am of Innovera School for your valuable time and guidance that you gave us here on this platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Athos Edusolutions. Thank you, Vivek. Thank you, Punekar News, for inviting us on this platform. Thanks a lot.
Ditto.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Vivek,
Thank you, everybody.
for giving
Thank
us
you,
this
Vivek. Thank you,
opportunity
Amrit.
and sharing our views. A wonderful interaction. Thank you so much.
Thank you.